Hi, Andy. Good morning. Online people, can you please confirm my voice is audible or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So as part of today's session, we'll start discussing about data warehousing concepts. So immediately don't be scared. So actually in this session, we are having the 19th batch students and we are having 20th batch students. And for 19th batch, actually we are discussing about the airflow. And for 20th batch, we are discussing about the compute engine. So don't worry, we'll continue about these topics only. But as part of today's session, we are discussing about the data warehousing concepts. 19th batch, don't worry, we'll discuss about the airflow concepts. Still, we are having some pending topics on airflow. And for 20th batch, we are discussing on the compute engine. We'll continue the compute engine in the coming classes. But as part of today's session, what we are doing here, we are going to discuss about the data warehousing concepts. Okay, because if you want to work as a data engineer, if you want to work as data engineer in real time, most of the times we are going to work in data warehousing projects. So we can able to say as a data engineer, if you are going to work in the real time, most of the times what we are doing here, we are going to work in the data warehousing projects. Data warehousing projects are nothing but we are going to build data warehouse systems. Okay, so as a data engineer, we are going to work in the data warehousing projects. In the data warehousing projects, we are going to build the data warehouse system. Now, if you are going to work in the data warehousing projects, what we need to understand, at least we need to understand what is data warehouse, what all are the different terminologies we are having in data warehouse, and what all are the things we need to work on top of our data warehousing projects. All these are the things we need to understand. That's the reason as a data engineer, you should have knowledge on the data warehousing concepts. For that reason, 2 or 3 days we are going to spend to discuss about multiple topics or multiple terminologies which are related to the data warehousing concepts. Okay, now in the GCP side, we are having a service called as a BigQuery. And BigQuery is nothing but this is one of the cloud data warehouse system. With the help of the BigQuery service in the real time, we are going to build the data warehouse system. But this service we are using to build the data warehouse system. But if you want to build the data warehouse system, you should have some minimal knowledge about what is data warehouse, what is the purpose of data warehouse, what are the different terminologies we are using in the data warehouse. Without having knowledge about all those things, and in real time, it would be difficult to survive. At the same time, as part of interviews also, they will ask few questions on the data warehousing concepts. By considering all these things as part of our classes, we are discussing about our data warehousing concepts. Okay, just I'm giving the background why we need to understand about the data warehousing concepts. For that reason, first 3-4 minutes I'm spending on background only. So in the real time, as a data engineer, you are going to work in the data warehousing projects. In the data warehousing projects, we are going to build the just one second. Rohit or Anil, can you please give me the host permission? I'll ask the screen access. Rohit, just 1 minute only. So actually our admin team joined and they removed my screen share access.
Hello.
Hello, 1 minute, Andy. So some screen share issue is going on. So just 1 minute. Please wait.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So sorry, Andy. So someone revoked my access, screen share access, admin team side. So hope online people are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so
Yes,
what we're
sir.
discussing here is, so we are going to discuss about the data warehousing concepts, and just I'm giving the background, what is the importance of data warehousing concepts. If you are going to work in the real-time projects as a data engineer, we are going to work in the data warehousing projects, which is nothing but as a data engineer, you are going to build the data warehouse system. That's the reason we need to understand about what is the data warehouse and what is the data warehousing architecture. What are the different terminologies we are using in data warehouse? You need to have knowledge about all such kind of things. For that reason, 2-3 days we are going to discuss about our data warehousing concepts. Okay, just I'm given the information. In the GCP side, we are having a service called as a BigQuery. With the help of the BigQuery, we are going to build our data warehouse system. But if you want to build data warehouse system, as I told you earlier, we need to have knowledge about all the terminologies which are present in the data warehouse system. For that reason, we are going to discuss about our data warehousing concepts. Okay, now we'll start about what is data warehousing. If you remember, in the previous classes or as part of demo session, we discussed about what is data warehouse. Can you please try to recap and try to give the answer? What is data warehouse? What is data warehouse? You can able to say
Collection of database.
data warehouse is nothing but collection of data from different types of the sources, and we are converting the data into organized format for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decisions. So this is the definition we discussed as part of our previous classes, either in the demo sessions or in the previous classes we discussed about what is data warehouse. Data warehouse is nothing but collection of data from different types of the sources, and we are converting the data into organized format for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decisions. Okay, and we discussed about what is data. What is data? What is data? Data is nothing but collection of raw material in unorganized format. What is data? We can able to say data is nothing but collection of raw material in unorganized format. In the same way, we discussed about what is information. What is information? If we are going to maintain data in organized format, that data only we can call it as information. So in the previous classes, we discussed about what is data, what is information, and what is our data warehouse system. At that time, if you remember, we discussed about one example called as a Citibank example. With the help of the Citibank example, we understood what is data, what is information, and what is the data warehouse. If anyone forgot, don't worry, Andy, we are going to discuss about the same example just for 5 to 10 minutes. With that, you can able to recap what is data, what is information, and what is the data warehouse. As part of this example, Citibank example, for example, Citibank is having total 1,000 branches across India. Now, out of these 1,000 branches, for example, they want to close 100 branches. So their requirement is out of 1,000 branches across the India, they want to close 100 branches to reduce cost burden. And generally, who will take this kind of decisions? Our business people will decide which branch we need to close, or manager will decide which branch we need to close, or we can able to say CEO will decide which branch we need to close. Out of 1,000 branches, we need to close the 100 branches. And why they are closing 100 branches? For the purpose of reducing the cost burden. As a business people, as a manager, as a CEO, they are going to decide which branch they want to close and which branch they want to continue. Now, For example, if I take the business people, as a business people, indirectly, they need to take the decision. Before taking the decision, what they need to do here? They need to perform some kind of analysis. What is the kind of analysis they need to perform? From each and every branch, they need to understand what is total turnover and what is profit or loss. So this is the information they need to get. By using this information only, what they can do here, they can able to perform the analysis and they can able to take the decision. As a business people, they can able to take the decision out of these 1,000 branches, which branch they want to close and which branch they want to continue. But if they want to take this kind of decision, what they need to do here, they need to perform the analysis. What kind of analysis they are going to perform? From each and every branch, they need to understand what is the total turnover and what is the profit or what is the loss from each and every branch. Based on that, they can able to perform the analysis and they can able to take the decision. But here question is, to perform analysis, they need to get turnover information. But from where they can able to get this data? From where they can get this data? So we can able to say, actually, in banking sector, we are going to have different types of departments. So what are the different departments we can able to see in the banking sector? We can able to see savings department, and we can able to see loans department, and we can able to see demat department, and we can able to see current department. So like this, we can able to see the different types of departments in each and every banking company. And now, what is the purpose of each and every department here? They are going to handle different kind of transactions. Savings department will handle all the savings related transactions. Loans department is handling all the loans related transactions. Demat department is going to handle all the demat related transactions, and current department is going to handle all the current related transactions. And now, for example, if you want to deposit the money in the bank, to which department we are going to contact? Savings department. Or you want to withdraw the money, to which department we are going to contact? Savings department. In the same way, you want to take the personal loan or you want to take the car loan, to which department we are going to contact? We are going to contact the loans department. Indirectly, in the banking sector, you are going to have the different kind of departments. Every department is going to perform the different kind of transactions. And now question is, after performing these transactions, they need to store transactions. Am I right or not? After doing the transaction, what these departments need to do here? They need to store all the transactions. And now, for example, savings department storing all the transactions in the text file, and loans department storing all the transactions in the JSON file, and demat department storing all the transactions in the XML file. And for example, current department storing all the data in the DB table. Just assume that in the banking sector or in the Citibank, we are having the different departments. Every department is performing different kind of transactions, and all these transactions are storing into the different types of the files. For example, savings department storing data in the text file, loans department storing data in the JSON file, demat department storing data in the XML file, current department storing the data in the tabular formats. And now my requirement is, from all these departments, I want to understand what is my total turnover. Now, for example, here, savings department dealing 1 crore transactions, and loans department dealt 5 crore transactions, demat department dealt 8 crore transactions, and current department is dealing, for example, 10 crore transaction. Like this, each and every department is handling this much of transaction, and they are storing all the transactions information into the different types of the files, into the different tables. And now my requirement is, from all these departments, I want to get the total turnover. Indirectly, what I need to do here? I need to perform summing operation. But if you want to perform the summing operation, here where we are having the data, in the test file, we are having 1 crore transactions, and in the JSON file, we are having the 5 crore transactions. Then in XML file, we are having the 8 crore transactions. Then in the DB table, we are having the 10 crore transaction. Indirectly, in between all these files, I want to perform the summing operation. With that, I want to get total turnover is nothing but, for example, 24 crores. And if I'm going to perform all these transactions, I need to get output as a 24 crore. To get this total turnover, I want to perform summing operation between text file, JSON file, XML file, and DB table. But you tell me here, can we able to perform summing operation between different types of the files. Is it possible? Can we able to perform summing operation between different types of the files? Simply we can able to say no, because here we are having some data in the text file, some data in the JSON file, some data in the XML file, some data in the database tables, and for that reason, in between different formats of the data, we cannot able to perform the summing operation. Then how we can able to get the total turnover? So what I will do here is I will convert savings.text file into table. After that, I will convert loans.json file into table. After that, I will convert dmat.xml file into table. And after that, I will convert current data into table. Now, indirectly, all the different departments of data we are maintaining into the single format, which is nothing but our tabular format. And now tell me, can we able to perform the summing operation between all these tables or not? Now, can we able to perform summing operation between all the tables? We can able to say simply answer is nothing but yes. How it is possible? With the help of the simply SQL queries, we can able to write the some kind of SQL queries, and with that we can able to perform the summing operation. With that, what will happen? You can able to get the turnover. By using this turnover, what will happen? Our business people can able to perform the analysis and they can able to take the decision. But for the purpose of doing this operation, what we are doing here, we are trying to get the turnover information. As part of getting the turnover, what I am doing here, I am converting text file data into tabular format, JSON file data into tabular format, XML file data into tabular format, and current table data into tabular format. Indirectly, we are converting different formats of data into the singular format. On top of that data, we can able to perform the summing operation. With that, we can able to get the turnover. With that, our business people can able to perform the analysis and they can able to take the decision. Now, indirectly here, we are converting different formats of data into single format. With this, we can able to perform summing operation. With that, we can able to get the turnover. With that, our business people can able to perform analysis and they can able to take the decision. Okay. Now you tell me, in this whole example, where we are having the unorganized data, where we are having the organized data, any guesses? This is the whole example we are discussing from last 5 minutes only. In this whole example, where we are having the unorganized data, where we are having the organized data. Whatever the text file or JSON file or XML file or database tables, different departments are maintaining the data in the different formats of the files, and that data only we can able to call it as a unorganized format, because we are having the data, but in between these files can be able to perform the summing operation as per the requirement. No, for that reason, that data only we can able to call it as a unorganized data. For that reason, to achieve the requirement, what I am doing here, I am converting this unorganized data into the organized format. Where we are converting that unorganized data into organized format, text file to table, JSON file to table, XML file to table, current data to table. Indirectly, we are converting different formats of data into the singular format, which is nothing but our tabular format. Now, indirectly in the tables, we are having the organized data, we are having the unorganized data. In the tables, we are having the organized data, which is nothing but as part of this whole example, to perform the analysis or to take the decision, we are converting unorganized data into the organized format. Once we are converting the data into the organized format, as per our requirement, we can able to perform the summing operation. Based on that, you can able to get the turnover. Based on that, our end user can able to perform the analysis and they can able to take the decision. This whole process only we can able to call it as nothing but data warehousing process. Now, in this example, what we did, we collected the data from different types of the sources. In this example, what are the different sources? Savings department, loans department, DMAT department, and current department. From all these different types of the sources, we collected the data. After that, we converted unorganized data into organized format, which is nothing but here we are converting it into the tabular format. With that, we are going to perform analysis. With that, we are going to take the decision. This whole process only what we can able to call here, simply we can able to call it as a data warehousing process only. As part of data warehousing process, by using this example, try to understand, we are collecting the data from the different types of the departments and we are converting the data into the organized format for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decision. This whole process we can able to call it as a data warehousing process. Okay, now you tell me why we are following this whole process. Simply we can able to say for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decisions. But tell me, in the real-time projects, who will do analysis or who will take decisions? As a data engineer, we are going to perform this activity, or as a business people, they are going to perform this activity. Business people, they are going to perform analysis and they are going to take the decision. Now, as a business people, if they want to perform analysis or if they want to take the decisions, and they need the organized data or they need the unorganized data. Obviously, they need the organized data, but who is sharing that organized data? As a data engineer, it is our responsibility to convert unorganized data into organized format. As a data engineer, it is your responsibility to convert unorganized data into the organized format. After we are converting the data into the organized format, we are going to apply the business requirements. After applying the business requirements, that data we are sharing to the business people. With that, they are going to perform the analysis and they are going to take the decision, where we are performing all these activities and as part of our data warehouse system or as part of data warehousing process, we are going to perform all these kind of activities in our real-time projects. Okay. Now, if you observe here, in this whole process, what activities we are going to perform? First step, we can able to say collection of the data. Will you agree or not? Collecting the data from the different types of the sources, that we can able to call it as a one of the activity. We can able to call it as a collection of the data. Second one, after collecting, what we are doing here? We are converting the data from unorganized format to the organized format. After that, we are loading the data to our required tables, and indirectly, as part of our data warehousing process, we are going to collect the data and we are converting the data and we are going to load the data. Whatever the collection activity we are doing, that we can able to call it as a extraction, or we can able to call it as E for extraction. As part of extraction, we are going to collect the data from the different types of the sources. Next one, we are performing the transformation, which is nothing but we are transforming unorganized data into the organized format, which we can able to call it as a transformation. After that, we are performing the loading operation, where we are loading here. We are loading the data into the tables, and which we can able to call it as a load or L, which is nothing but as part of data warehousing process, what activities we are going to perform? We are going to perform ETL activities, and which is nothing but extraction, transformation and loading activities. Now, indirectly, we can able to say, as a data engineer in data warehousing projects, what activities we are going to perform? We can able to say we are going to perform extraction, transformation and loading activities, and extracting the data from the different types of the sources. After that, we are applying the transformations as per the business requirement. After that, we are loading the data. With that, we are going to build our data warehouse system. That data warehouse system our business people are going to use for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decision. This is the way, by using the Citibank example, easily you can able to understand what is the meaning of unorganized data, what is the meaning of organized data, what is the meaning of data warehouse. As a data engineer in the data warehousing projects, what activities we can able to perform, all this information we can able to understand with the help of this Citibank example. Okay, up to here, any questions or confusions, please ask me. Up to here, any questions or confusions? Yeah, in the BigQuery only we are going to perform all these activities. But for now, for your batch, we have to cover the BigQuery only. In the coming classes, we are going to discuss about the BigQuery. In the BigQuery, we are trying to understand how we can able to extract the data, transform the data, and load the data. Here, what I'm telling, as part of data warehousing projects, if you want to build the data warehouse system, we are going to perform the ETL operations. In the GCP, we are having the service called as a BigQuery. With the help of the BigQuery, we can able to build the data warehouse system. Indirectly in the BigQuery, what activities we are going to perform? We are going to perform extractions and transformations and loading activities. How we are going to perform those activities, we are going to cover in the coming classes for your batch only. But for batch 19, already we discussed about the BigQuery. For your classes, in the coming classes, for your batch, in the coming classes, we are going to discuss about how we are going to use the BigQuery for the purpose of building our data warehouse systems. Okay. Any other questions up to here? Okay. If no question, just I will show you one Excel sheet only. So nothing special here. Whatever I typed everything in the notepad, same thing you can able to see it in the Excel format for your easy understanding. What we are discussing, as a Citibank, they are having total 1,000 branches. Out of these 1,000 branches, they want to close the, for example, 100 branches. And for what reason? For the purpose of reducing the cost burden. So who want to take this kind of decision? As a CEO or as a manager, they want to take this kind of decision to close the 100 branches. For the purpose of taking this kind of decision, what is the prerequisite here? As a CEO or as a manager, they need to get the data. From where they can able to get the data? As we discussed in the banking sector, we are having the savings department, loans department, demat department, and current department. All these departments are going to perform the different kind of transactions. After performing all the transactions, what they are doing here, they are going to store all the transactions in the text file or Excel file or COBOL file or in the database system. And once we are having all the data like this, on top of this data, we cannot able to perform the summing operation. That's the reason this whole data we can able to call it as a unorganized data. Sir, why we are calling it as unorganized data? Because in the text file you are having the data, in the Excel file you are having the data, in the COBOL file you are having the data, but on top of this data we cannot able to perform the summing operation. That's the reason that data we are calling it as a unorganized data. Now, if you want to perform the analysis, what we need to do here, we need to convert this unorganized data into the organized format. After converting this unorganized data into the organized format, on top of that data, as a CEO or as a manager, they can able to perform the analysis. In this whole process, what we are doing, we are collecting the data from different types of the sources. We are converting the data into organized format for the purpose of doing analysis to take the decision. This whole process we can able to call it as nothing but data warehousing process. Indirectly, we are not discussing any new thing as part of this Excel sheet only. Whatever I typed in the notepad, same thing I represented in the Excel sheet in the diagrammatic format. By seeing this diagram, easily you can able to understand what are the different departments we are having, in what formats they are storing the data. After that, what activities we are doing. Just I converted that text file into the Excel format. With that, easily you can able to understand what is the meaning of our data warehousing process. Okay. Now you try to give the answer here. As a business people, to perform analysis, they need only current data or they need historical data also. As a business people, to perform the analysis or to take the decision, they need only current data or they need the historical data also. See, for example, here I'm going to give the data like this. And for example, in the 2022, I'm saying that in the branch A and branch B, we are sharing the total turnover. Now, if you observe here, if you compare the branch A and branch B turnover, in which branch we are having the huge turnover? In the branch B, we are having the 10 crore turnover. Coming to branch A, we are having the only 5 crore turnover. Now, by seeing this data, which branch we can able to continue actually? We can able to continue with the branch B, because compared to the branch A, in the branch B, we are having the huge amount of turnover. Now, for example, now instead of only 1 year data, I am giving the previous data also like this, and I'm giving the current data plus I'm giving the historical data. Now, by seeing the current data and historical data, you try to give the answer, which branch we can able to continue, which branch we can able to close. If you are considering only one branch, 1 year current data or only 1 year data, we are thinking that in the branch B, we are having the huge turnover. With that, we are thinking that we can able to continue with the branch B by considering only 1 year data. But if you are going to consider current year data and previous year's data, now you try to give the answer, which branch we can continue, which branch we can able to close. In the branch A, what's happening? In the 2019, we are having the 50 lakh turnover. After that, 2020, 1 crore. 21 2 crores, 22 5 crores, and indirectly in the branch A, your turnover is gradually increasing or decreasing? Is gradually increasing. But coming to branch B, if you observe, in the 2019 we are having the 40 crore turnover, then 30 crore, then 20 crore, then 10 crore. Indirectly in the branch B, your business is gradually increasing or decreasing? Obviously our turnover is gradually decreasing. Now by considering this kind of data, current data and historical data, in which branch we are seeing the gradual increase in the turnover, in which branch we are seeing the gradual decrease in the turnover? And obviously in the branch A we are having the gradual increase, in the branch B we are having the gradual decrease of turnover. For that reason, what we can able to do here, we can able to take the decision as I want to continue with the branch A and I don't want to continue the branch B. Indirectly, if you are going to consider only 1 year data, you cannot able to take the proper decision. For that reason, as part of data warehousing projects, as a business people, if they want to take the proper decision, what they will do here, they are expecting current data. At the same time, they are going to expect the historical data, because with the historical data only they can able to perform the proper analysis and they can able to take the proper decisions. For that reason, we can able to say in data warehousing projects, we are going to deal with both current and historical data. Why? Simply we can able to say to do analysis, we need historical data. Without having historical data, you cannot able to perform the analysis. For that reason, as a data engineer, you are going to build the data warehousing projects. In the data warehousing projects, what data we are going to deal? We are going to deal with the current data and also we are going to deal with the historical data only. This is the way simply we can able to understand what is data warehouse. At the same time, we need to understand why we are going to maintain the historical data as part of our data warehousing projects. One more thing we need to understand, as a data engineer, in the data warehousing projects, what activities we are going to perform? We are going to perform extraction, transformation, and loading operations. These operations we are going to perform as a data engineer in our data warehousing projects. Okay. Now you try to give the answer by seeing this whole example. What might be our data warehousing architecture? Any guesses? By seeing this whole example or whatever we are discussing from last 10 to 15 minutes, and by seeing this whole information, you try to give the answer. What is our data warehousing architecture? We are getting the data from source systems. Will you agree or not?
Yes.
We are getting the data from the source systems. With the help of the source systems, what we are doing here, we are going to build our data warehouse system. And who is going to use this data warehouse system? We can able to say our end users. We can able to say business people or our end user or managers are going to use the data warehouse system. On top of the data warehouse system, they are going to perform the analysis. This is for simple understanding. I'm telling Andy, from the different sources we are getting the data. With that, we are going to build the data warehouse system. On top of the data warehouse system, our end users are going to perform the analysis and they are going to take the decision. This is for our easy understanding. But if you want to understand the detailed data warehousing architecture, this is the way we can understand. If you observe, see, this is our detailed data warehousing architecture. If you observe here, whatever the source system or whatever the source data we are having, that whole data we are maintaining in a system called as a ODS system. And here ODS is nothing but operational data store. Here we will maintain all source data. So we are having one component called as a ODS. ODS is nothing but operational data store. In this operational data store, we are going to maintain all the source data. Now you try to give the answer. Here I am saying that we will maintain all the source data. Who is the meaning of we here? Data engineer or any other people? We can able to say simply our source system, or we can able to say our source people, or we can able to say our department people. Earlier in the previous example, we are getting the data from test file or JSON file or COBOL file. But who is maintaining all the data? As a data engineer, you are not maintaining all the data. Who is maintaining all the data? We can able to say our source team, or our source people, or our department people are going to maintain all such kind of data. And indirectly, whatever the test file or whatever the JSON file or whatever the COBOL file earlier we are discussing, where we are having all these kind of files, and we are going to have all these files in the ODS system. ODS is nothing but operational data store. Now, where we are going to have ODS, we can able to say this ODS can present in the Unix box or in the Unix servers. See, ODS is a terminology only. So in the ODS, we are maintaining everything. But where we are going to have this ODS? In the Unix server, we are going to have the ODS, or in the drives, we are having the ODS, or in the SharePoints, we are going to have all the files. And indirectly, in our Unix server, we are maintaining all the source files. Or in the drives, we are maintaining all the source files. Or in the SharePoints, they are going to maintain all the source files. And from any one of these three, either Unix box or drives or from the SharePoint, we are going to retrieve the data. After retrieving the data, what we are going to do here? We are converting all the data into the organizer format. On top of that, our end user is going to perform the analysis. Indirectly, in the data warehousing architecture, what is the starting point? We can able to say our starting point is nothing but ODS, or we can able to call it as a operational data store. Here we can able to give one more naming convention. It's nothing but our landing zone. We can able to call it as a Unix server, or we can able to call it as a drives, or we can able to call it as a SharePoints, or we can able to call it as a landing zone. In any one of this location, we are having all the files, and this location we are given the naming convention called as a ODS. ODS is nothing but our operational data store. For that reason, in our data warehousing architecture, what is the first component we are going to see? Is nothing but ODS. ODS is nothing but operational data store, which is containing all the different formats of the data. Okay. In the data warehousing architecture, in the next step, what we are going to do here is, from the ODS, we are going to build a staging database. What we are going to do here? We are going to build the staging database, and in this layer, we are converting different formats of data into tabular format. Just to compare every statement with the previous example, and in the previous example, what we discussed, we are converting text file data into tabular format, JSON file data into tabular format, XML file data into tabular format, current file data into the tabular format. Indirectly, this text file, JSON file, XML file, where we are having all this information as per the architecture, all these are present in the ODS. Okay. Now, as part of data warehousing architecture, what we are doing here, from the ODS, we are collecting all this kind of data. After that, we are converting all the data into the tabular format. But in the data warehousing architecture, where we are converting all this data into the tabular format, and by using a component called as a staging database, and we are converting different formats of data into the singular format by using a component called as nothing but staging database. Now you tell me, in the staging database, in which format we are going to maintain the data? We are maintaining all the data in the organizer format, but how we are calling it as organizer format? We are maintaining all the data into the tabular format. For that reason, here we can able to say we are having all the data in the organizer format. Indirectly, from the ODS system, we need to collect the data. We are loading the data into the staging database. Now in the staging database, we are having all the data in the organizer format. Now after that, what we'll do here is, from ODS to staging, from the staging database system, we are going to build data warehouse system. In this layer, we will apply all business requirements and will load data into data warehouse system. Okay. If you remember the previous example, what is my business requirement? You want to get the raw data, or you want to get the summary data? I want to get the summary data. What is the meaning of summary? In our example, turnover is nothing but my summary data, which is nothing but on top of staging database, you are going to contain the raw data. On top of the raw data, we are going to perform the sum operation. With that, whatever the data we are getting, that data we are loading into our data warehouse system. And now on top of this data warehouse system, our end users are going to perform the analysis. For that reason, as part of data warehousing architecture, we can able to see ODS, which is going to contain different formats of the data. After that, we are building the staging database. Here, we are going to convert the different formats of data into the singular format. After that, we are going to build the data warehouse system by applying the business requirement. Now, on top of this data warehouse system, our end users are going to perform the analysis. But here thing is, what will happen is ODS to staging database. On top of staging database, we are going to build data warehouse system. On top of data warehouse systems, we are going to build the views. We can able to say here in this layer to control access on the data, we are going to create the views. So if you observe here already, I'm adding one by one component from the data warehousing architecture. First one, we are adding only the ODS. We are discussing in the ODS what activity we are doing. After that, we are adding ODS in the combination of staging database. In the staging database, what activities we are doing, that we discussed. After that, on top of staging, we added the data warehouse system. On the data warehouse system, what activities we are doing, that we discussed. After that, on top of data warehouse system, in the architecture, what is the one more component we are building? We are building the views. And what is the purpose of the views here? In this layer, we are going to control access on top of the data. How we are going to control the access? With the help of the views, we are going to control the access indirectly. After building our data warehouse system, on top of data warehouse system, we are going to create the views. Okay. In the views, what we are doing here? We are going to control access on top of your data. After creation of the views, we need to build the reports. Here I can able to say in this layer, our reporting team will build the reports. What's happening here? As part of the reports component, on top of the views, our reporting team is going to build the reports. And now you try to give the answer. Earlier we discussed about as a business people, on top of the data, they are going to perform analysis. But if we are giving the data in the tabular format and report format, which format is very convenient to the business people for the purpose of doing analysis? Any guesses? To the business people, if we are given the data in the tabular format or if we are given the data in the report format, which format is more convenient to the business people for the purpose of doing analysis?
Report format.
Of course, we can able to say report format, because in the report they can able to see all the data in the charts, or they can able to see the data in the graphical format. And once we can able to see the data in the graphical format, it is very easy to perform the analysis. For the reason, in the data warehousing architecture, after building our data warehouse system, we need to create the views. On top of the views, what is going to happen? Our report development team is going to create the reports. And now on top of the reports, our end users are going to perform the analysis. Our end users is nothing but business people or managers or CEOs, and any one of the people is going to perform the analysis. Now you try to give the answer here. In data warehousing projects, what is the end product? Any guesses? In data warehousing projects, what is the end product? Our data warehouse system or the reports? We can able to say reports are the end products. And but as a data engineer, are we going to create any kind of reports here? As a data engineer, no. It is not your responsibility. And whose responsibility it is? We are having the separate team called as a report development team. Report development team will create the reports. But tell me here, in this whole architecture, as a data engineer, where you are going to perform your work? Any guesses? Yeah, that is the definition. But my question here is, in this architecture, where we are performing our activities, in which component? In the ODS, or in the staging, or in data warehouse, or in the views, or in the reports?
Data warehouse.
Till views.
Here we are going to involve D is nothing but data engineer. Just assume like that. D for data engineer. Here from the ODS to staging, whose responsibility? As a data engineer, it is your responsibility. You need to write the code. You need to build a pipeline. With that, you need to load the data from the ODS to staging. After that, staging to data warehouse. Who is going to load the data? who is going to perform the summing operations or summary operations, and as a data engineer, again you need to build the one more pipeline to load data from the staging to our data warehouse system. Again, who is going to create the views also? As a data engineer, it is your responsibility. Now coming to here, who is going to create the reports? As a report development team, they are going to create the reports. Indirectly, from this architecture perspective, you need to understand where you are involving while loading the data from ODS to staging and staging to data warehouse and data warehouse to views. In all these layers, as a data engineer, we are involving in our real-time projects. After creation of the views, what will happen? Report development team is coming into the picture. They are going to create the reports. On top of the reports, our end users are going to perform the analysis. This is the way simply we can able to understand what is our data warehousing architecture, which we are going to see in our real-time projects. Okay. Any questions on top of this architecture? Please ask me here. Is it confused or is clear? Just to try to link everything with our Citibank example. With that, easily you can able to get the clear picture. And so in the Citibank example, we discussed about multiple departments are going to store the data in the different formats of the files. Now you tell me, all the departments are storing the data in the which component? In the ODS component. Okay. Now after that, we need to collect the data. We need to convert the data into the organizer format. In which component we are converting all the different formats of data into the singular format in the staging database. After that, what is my requirement? I want to perform the summing operation, which is my business requirement. And by applying the business requirement, where we are loading the data, we are loading the data into our data warehouse system. On top of that, we need to create the views. What is the purpose of the views? For the purpose of controlling the access on top of the data, we are going to create the views. On top of the views, our report development team will create the reports. By using the reports, our end user is going to perform the analysis, and indirectly, whatever the Citibank example we discussed, just we are converting that entire explanation as a diagrammatic format. That diagram only simply we can able to call it as a data warehousing architecture. Okay. Any questions again on top of this whole architecture? Please ask me here. Now, if you observe here, if you don't have any questions, Andy, if I'm calling, for example, this is my phase one. In the phase one, what activities we are going to perform? Any cases? In the phase one, what activities we are going to perform? Extract the data, transform the data, load the data. But in the phase one, what is the source? In the phase one, what is the source? ODS. What is the target? Staging database. Now coming to phase two, again, what activities we are going to perform? Extract, transform, loading. But in the phase two, what is the source? ODS or staging? In the phase two, staging database is acting as a source, and on top of that, we are applying the transformation. Now you try to give the answer. Sir, in the phase two, what is the transformation we are applying? Any guesses?
Business requirement.
Yes, exactly. So see here, earlier we discussed, right? We are going to perform the summing operation. Now you tell me, once we are going to apply the summing operation on top of the raw data, we are going to convert the raw data to the summary format, or we are maintaining the raw data as a raw data only in the data warehouse. We are converting raw data into the summary format. That operation only we can able to call it as a transformation. Here, what is the meaning of transformation? In the phase one, we are converting text file to table, that we are calling it as a transformation. But in the phase two, we are converting raw data into the summary format, that we are calling it as a transformation. After that, we are loading the data into the data warehouse system. Indirectly, in the phase one or in the phase two, we are going to perform the ETL operations. Now, who is performing these ETL operations? As a data engineer, it is your responsibility to perform the ETL operations. And now just I'm repeating the same thing. Why we are discussing all these topics here in the today's session? As a data engineer, you are going to work in the data warehousing project. If you are going to work in the data warehousing project, you need to understand in which layers you are involving or in which pages you are performing your activities. And for the purpose of understanding all that information, we are discussing our data warehousing concepts. Within the data warehousing concepts, already we discussed about what is data warehouse. At the same time, now we are discussing about what is our data warehousing architecture. Okay. Again, by seeing this whole data warehousing architecture, try to give the information about what is data warehouse. What we can able to say? Collection of data from different types of the sources, convert the data into the organizer format. Why we are converting the data into organizer format? For the purpose of doing our analysis to take the decisions. And now you tell me here one more thing. Who all are end users of data warehouse system? I am giving the answer is data engineer. Is the correct answer? You are the end user or you are the person who is building the data warehouse. What is the meaning of end user? Who is using the data warehouse system? And here we can able to, so who is using this one? Our business people, or we can able to say managers, or we can able to say our CEOs, whomever I can able to say whomever is having decision making capability in the organization, they all are nothing but end users of your data warehouse system. Now next question is, who is building data warehouse system? Can we able to say business people? Simply
No.
answer is wrong. So who is building them? As a data engineer, you are building our data warehouse systems as part of our real-time projects. And that's the reason just we are discussing all these concepts here. Now you tell me, what is the purpose of ODS? What is the abbreviation of ODS? It's nothing but our operational data store. Okay. What is the purpose of ODS? To maintain all different types of the sources in the projects. We are maintaining our ODS. Where we are maintaining the ODS? As I told you earlier, we are maintaining it in the Unix server or in the drives or in the SharePoint locations or in the landing zone. We are going to maintain our ODS or we are going to maintain our different types of the files. And after that, what's the next step? We are converting different formats of data into singular format. With that, we are going to build a component called as a staging database. And as part of this phase, we are performing extraction, transformation, and loading. From where we are going to extract? From the ODS, and we are loading the data into our staging database by converting one format of data into the other format. After that, in the phase 2, by applying the business requirements, we are building our data warehouse system. On top of data warehouse system, we are going to create the views for the purpose of controlling access on the data. After that, we are going to create the reports. Who is going to create the reports here? Our report development team. On top of the reports, our end users are going to perform the analysis. This is the end-to-end architecture we need to understand as part of our data warehousing projects. Okay, just I will give the pause for a few minutes. And any questions, please ask me here. Views are nothing but a kind of a virtual tables. And as part of database concepts, in detail we'll discuss about what is the views. For now, just try to understand what is the purpose of the view. To control access on top of the data, we are going to create the views. Okay, what is the view, how to create the view, and how we are going to maintain the views. That topic we are going to cover in the database concepts for your batch. Okay, another questions up here? Online people?
Staging database, what is staging and staging?
This is the table names. Just for understanding, I given the some table names here. So in the staging database, we are going to maintain all the things in the tabular format. Just for representation, I given the table names are, for example, stg_emp table, stg_department table. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If no questions, now we need to understand few terminologies. We need to understand what is OLTP and what is OLAP. This is the one more concept which we need to understand as part of our data warehousing side. And any guesses what is meaning of OLTP? Online transactional processing. And OLAP is nothing but online analytical processing. OLTP is nothing but online transactional processing, and OLAP is nothing but online analytical processing. That's the abbreviation. And now we'll try to understand what is the meaning of what is the purpose of OLTP and what is the purpose of OLAP. And so we can able to say, to maintain all transactional related data, we need to maintain OLTP systems. So what I'm telling here, to maintain all the transactional related data, we need to maintain our OLTP systems, and OLAP is nothing but to perform analysis on top of the data we need to maintain OLAP systems. Try to understand here. To maintain all that transactional related data, we are going to maintain the OLTP systems only. But to perform analysis on top of your data, what we have to do here? We need to maintain the OLAP systems. Now, by seeing these two statements, you try to do the answer. In our data warehousing architecture, what is the component we can call it as a OLTP? Which component we can able to call it as a OLAP? Any guesses? What I'm telling here, OLAP, why we are using the OLTP only? To maintain all the transactional related data, we are going to maintain our OLTP systems. Now, as per our Citibank example, in this whole architecture, where we are maintaining our transaction related data. If you see the data warehousing example, all these departments, what they are doing? They are performing different kind of transactions. Okay. And here what I'm telling, as part of OLTP, why we are maintaining the OLTP, Sandy? For the purpose of maintaining our transactional related data, we are going to maintain the OLTP systems indirectly. All these departments, what they will maintain? They will maintain the OLTP system. For what reason? To maintain all the transactions. Now, question is, in the data warehousing architecture, which component indirectly we can able to call it as a OLTP system?
Data warehouse.
Here we can able to say our ODS system or ODS component, indirectly we can able to call it as a OLTP, because in that ODS system, what we are maintaining, and we are maintaining different types of the files. Now you tell me, in all these files, what data we are maintaining? We are maintaining our transactional data. If you remember the previous example, all the departments are performing different kind of transaction. They are storing all the transactions into the different types of the files only. But in the data warehousing architecture, where we are maintaining all these files? In the ODS. Indirectly, in the ODS, what kind of data we are maintaining? We are maintaining our transactional data. For that reason, here we can able to say what is the OLTP? Our ODS component, indirectly we can able to call it as a OLTP. But tell me, in our data warehousing architecture, what is the OLAP component? Any guesses? Our data warehouse component, we can able to call it as nothing but OLAP system only, because in the data warehouse component, we are maintaining all our data in the organized format. For what reason? For the purpose of doing my analysis. Actually, on top of data warehouse, we are going to build the views. On top of the views, we are going to create the report. On top of the report, end user is going to perform the analysis. But where we are having actually our meaningful data, we are maintaining all the meaningful data in the data warehouse. Indirectly, with the help of the data warehouse system, we are going to perform the analysis. That's the reason this data warehouse component, indirectly we can able to call it as a OLAP component only, because as per the definition, why we are maintaining the OLAP? To perform analysis on top of the data, we are maintaining our OLAP system. That's the reason in our data warehousing architecture, we can able to say data warehouse component is nothing but OLAP. What about the ODS component? That we can able to call it as a OLTP only. Now, for example, just I will give you one example. You are going to the ATM machines, and in the ATM machine, you are withdrawing the money. Once we are going to withdraw the money, what will happen automatically? You are withdrawing the money, you are getting the money, and after that, what will happen? Whatever the transaction you are doing, the transaction will store in backend. Will you agree or not? In the ATM, you are withdrawing, for example, 10,000 rupees. Indirectly, you are performing a transaction in the ATM machine. Once we are going to complete the transaction, what will happen? That transaction is going to store in the backend. Now, for example, that is my transaction 1. Again, after 1 hour or after 10 minutes, again I went to the ATM machine. Again, I withdraw the money. Indirectly, what you are doing again? Again, we are performing one more transaction. Now tell me again what will happen. This transaction will store in the backend system. Indirectly, in the ATM machine, whatever the transactions we are doing only, all the transactions are storing in the backend system. Now here, can we able to call ATM machine is the example for OLTP or not? In the ATM machine, what we are doing? You are doing the transactions. Obviously, all the transactions are storing in the backend system. That's the reason, in the simple understanding, I'm telling Andy, ATM machine indirectly we can able to call it as a kind of a OLTP system. But in the backend, where the data is storing, That data is storing either in the text file, or that data can be stored in the XML file, or that data can be storing in the database tables only. But as a user, you are connecting to with what? You are connecting with the ATM machine. Once we are going to perform the transaction, all the transactions are storing in the backend. Now you tell me, in our data warehousing architecture, which component we can able to call it as a backend here? In our data warehousing architecture, in this example especially, which component we can able to call it as a backend? We are storing all the transactions. Where the transactions are going to store? Obviously, we can able to say in our ODS system and the ATM machine, we are doing the transaction. All the transactions are storing in the OLTP system. And I'm telling that ODS is going to act as a OLTP, which is nothing but whatever the transactions we are doing in the ATM machine, indirectly, where all this information is going to store, all that information is storing on top of your ODS system, or we can able to call it as a OLTP system. Okay. Now, by using this OLTP, what we are doing here, we are building the OLAP system. In the OLAP system, what we are doing, Andy, we are converting different formats of data into the singular format. On top of that, we are going to perform the analysis. For that reason, this data warehouse component, we can able to call it as a OLAP component. Okay. Any questions on top of this OLTP and OLAP, please ask me here. It's very simple. Don't get any kind of confusion, Sandy. As part of our whole example, we are performing the transactions and also we are performing the analysis. To deal with the transactions, we are using OLTP systems. To deal with the analysis, we are dealing with our OLAP systems, Sandy. Now you tell me, as a data engineer, you are going to work on the OLTP or OLAP? As a data engineer, you are going to work on OLTP or OLAP?
OLAP.
We can able to say we are going to work on OLAP. See, again, all these are some kind of interview questions, Andy. In the interview questions, to confuse you, first they will ask a question, what is OLTP and what is the OLAP? Then they will ask a question, now you tell me, as a data engineer, on top of which component you are going to work? You are going to work on the OLTP or you are going to work on the OLAP, Andy? In the confusion, we are going to give the answer as a OLTP, but that's a simply wrong answer. You are going to work on top of the OLAP. So how it is possible? We can able to say here. Earlier we discussed, right? In this whole architecture, we are working on phase 1 to load data into staging database, to load data into data warehouse system. Now you tell me, whose responsibility to load the data into data warehouse system? Is it our responsibility or this is the responsibility of your source team? This is the responsibility of your source team, and it is not our responsibility to maintain the data in the ODS system, which is nothing but in the Unix server or in the landing zone or in the drive. Who is going to keep the data? Our source team is going to keep the data, which is nothing but as a data engineer, it is not your responsibility to maintain the data in the ODS system. Indirectly, we can able to say ODS is acting as a OLTP. That's the reason, as a data engineer, it is not your responsibility to work on the OLTP, or as a data engineer, it is not your responsibility to work on the ODS. Then, as a data engineer, what is your responsibility here? To load data into staging database or to load data into data warehouse system. That is your responsibility. And we are saying that data warehouse component is acting as a OLAP. For that reason, I'm giving the statement, as a data engineer, you are going to work on which component? We are going to work on the component called as a OLAP component. Okay. Any questions again on top of this OLTP and OLAP, please ask me. I know this is completely theoretical, Andy. Today class is completely theory and tomorrow class also completely theory. But can we be able to skip all these things? All these are very basic things you need to understand as a data engineer. That's the reason we are going to spend 2-3 days of time to discuss about all these topics, Andy. With that, you can able to familiar with this discussion. You can able to get familiar with all the terminologies which we are going to use in our project. That is the main intention of today's session and tomorrow's session also, Randy. We need to understand all these kind of terminologies. In the requirement document, you are going to see, we are going to get the data from OLTP and I need to build the OLAP. If you don't know what is the OLTP and if you don't know what is the OLAP, what will happen? You will get a lot of confusion. What is the OLTP and what is the OLAP? After that, because of confusion, you went to the team lead or you went to the manager and you are asking the question, sir, can you tell me what is the meaning of this OLTP and what is the meaning of this OLAP? If you are going to ask this question, what will happen? simply they can understand you are a kind of a fake employee, because if you are really working for 3 years on the data warehousing project, it is the minimal thing you need to understand what is the OLTP and what is the OLAP. But if you are asking these kind of questions to your team lead or manager, obviously what will happen, they can able to find out you are the fake employees. For that reason, you need to have knowledge about all these different terminologies, and also you need to have knowledge about the data warehousing architecture. For that reason, we are spending this much of time to understand all these kind of terminologies. Okay. Any questions still if you're having on OLTP and OLAP, please ask me.
ODS component. ఇప్పుడు మన వర్క్ లో ODS అనేది OLTP అనేది స్టేజ్ ప్రాసెస్ స్టేజింగ్ డేటాబేస్ వస్తుంది.
Yes.
మన ODS
See, from the so in the ODS, what we are doing, we are maintaining all the transactions data, but are we loading the data into ODS? No. As part of here in the phase 1, you are using the ODS for what reason? To load the data or to read the data? We are using the ODS to read the data, because which is nothing but to extract the data from the ODS, we are using it. But are we doing any operations on the ODS system as a data engineer? No, we are reading the data from the ODS, we are converting the data into the tabular format, then we are loading the data into the staging database. And indirectly, as a data engineer, you are loading the data in the ODS or you are loading the data in the staging database here. You are loading, but on top of ODS, what operation we are doing? Just we are doing the reading operation. You are not performing any kind of loading operation. For that reason, here I'm saying that in the ODS, who is going to perform the data loads, or who is going to maintain all the data in the ODS system? Our source team. We are not doing any activities on the ODS. Only one activity which we are going to perform is nothing but extract the data from the ODS or read the data from the ODS. That is the activity we are performing on the ODS as a data engineer. You are not going to create the files in the ODS, or you are not loading the data in the ODS as a data engineer in our real-time projects. Is it clear? Okay. Any other questions still? Okay, if you don't have any questions, Sandy, I will ask some question. You try to give the answer. Based on your understanding, try to give the answer. What all are differences between OLAP and OLTP? Based on the above understanding, you try to give the answer. What is the difference between OLAP and OLTP?
In the OLTP, we have the unorganized data that in the format form, and we need to convert into the.
Yeah, correct.
Here, this is the organized data and the transformed data in the OLAP.
Yes, correct. So we can able to say in the OLTP we are going to maintain the organized data, but whereas in the OLAP what we are doing, Andy? In the OLAP we are going to maintain the organized data. Okay. Now tell me, in between OLTP and OLAP, which component we are using for the analysis purpose?
OLAP.
Able to say OLAP we are using for to perform analysis. We are using the OLAP. Then what is the purpose of OLTP? Can I guess? Already we discussed about this also.
Transactional data.
To maintain all the transactions. Okay, so no need to buy out anything, and just to try to understand the concept, try to understand the example. With that, you yourself can able to give the answer. What is the difference between the OLTP and OLAP? Already we discussed that. By using the OLTP, we are going to maintain all the transactions. But by using OLAP, what we are doing here, we are going to perform the analysis. Any other differences? I can able to say by using OLTP, we are going to run the business. Whereas by using OLAP, what we are going to do here? We are going to analyze the business. Will you agree this or not? In the OLTP, we are capturing all the transactions, which is nothing but in the business, whatever the transactions are happening, we are capturing all the transactions with the help of the OLTP. But what is the purpose of OLAP here? For the purpose of analyze the data on top of your business, we are going to use the OLAP. And that is the one more difference we can able to say. And you tell me, in between OLTP and OLAP, where we are going to maintain the historical data, where we are going to maintain only current data?
Yeah, OLTP maintain current data.
Yes, correct. So in the OLTP systems, we are going to maintain the current data. What about OLAP, Andy? In the OLAP, we are going to maintain current plus historical data. What's the reason? Why we are maintaining historical data in the OLAP? What's the reason? By using OLAP, I want to perform analysis. If you want to perform analysis, obviously we have to maintain the current data plus historical data. That's the reason here we can able to say in the OLAP, we are going to maintain current plus historical data only. Now in the same way, you tell me, I will give the point. where we can able to see the huge data, where we can able to see the less amount of data.
In the OLTP,
OLTP less data.
In OLTP, we can able to see the less data, whereas coming to OLAP, we can able to see the
Huge amount of data.
huge amount of data. What's the
huge
reason?
amount of data.
Maintaining historical data
Because
also.
of maintaining the historical data.
Historical data.
In the OLAP, we are going to see the huge amount of data, but coming to OLTP, we are going to see the less amount of data. And you tell me here, where we can able to see the good performance, where we can able to see the bad performance.
OLTP less
we can able
performance.
to see good performance, and coming to OLAP, we can able to see bad performance. Don't assume that bad performance is nothing but it is not going to take the hours or it is not going to take the years of time only. When we are comparing OLTP plus OLAP, when we are comparing these both, comparatively we can able to say OLAP is giving some bad performance compared to the OLTP. Any justification for this? What is the justification? In the OLTP, what we are doing?
Data.
We are maintaining
have
very
less
less
data,
data. But
yeah.
coming to here, we are going to maintain the current data plus historical data. That's the reason. Comparatively, we can able to say in the OLAP, we can able to see less performance compared to the OLTP. There is a justification also. What is the justification here? OLTP, we are maintaining the only less data, but coming to OLAP, we are going to maintain the huge amount of data because of the historical data. That's the reason. Comparatively, we can able to say in the OLTP, we can able to see the good performance compared to our OLAP systems. Okay. In the same way, you try to give the answer here. Who all are the end users of the OLTP? Who all are the end users of the OLAP?
Data engineers are the end users for OLTP.
Data engineers are end users. Okay, that is a partially correct, but I won't able to say this statement only. I can able to say here our employees of the company. Will you agree this or not? Employees of the company are nothing but end users of the OLTP. Just to go back the same previous example only. In the previous example, who is handling all the transactions? Different departments. In the departments, who is going to work? Obviously, our employees. Indirectly, in the savings department, we are having an employee. He is performing some kind of transaction. Whenever he is going to perform the transaction, that transaction is storing in the test file. Where we are having this test file? In the ODS. What is the ODS? It's nothing but our OLTP. That's the reason. Indirectly, we can able to call employees of the organization are nothing but end users of your OLTP. And what about the OLAP? Who all are the end users of OLAP?
Business
able to say
users.
business people or managers, or we can able to say CEOs. Those all are nothing but end users of your OLAP systems. Indirectly, we can able to say whomever is having the decision making capability in the real time, they all are nothing but end users of our OLAP. And so this is the way simply we can able to come up with some differences between the OLTP and OLAP. But if you observe here, are we discussing any new topic out of all these 7 points? And whatever the points we discussed above, based on that, just we are deriving what all are the differences between the OLAP and OLTP. Again, this is the one of the interview question. For that reason, just we are discussing about this topic only. But don't try to by heart anything only. Try to understand the concept. Try to focus on the examples. With that, easily you can able to understand all these kind of statements. What is the OLAP? What is the OLTP? What is the difference between the OLAP and OLTP? All these easily we can able to understand once we can able to understand the morning Citibank example. Okay. Again, any questions up to here, please ask me.
Sir, the OLTP 7 point, I didn't get it.
No, can you repeat? I didn't get that.
OLTP, the employees being the end users, I didn't get
Yeah,
it
for
correct.
example, so as part of previous example, Andy, in the banking sector, what is going to happen? You are having the different kind of the departments, and all these departments, what they will do, for example, you are going to the bank, okay, and you want to deposit the money. Okay, to which department you will contact generally? Generally, we are going to contact the savings department employee. So what he will do? He will take the money from you and he will enter some details in his banking application. After that, he is going to click on the submit button. Then only what will happen? Your transaction will store in the backend. So in the backend, where your transaction is going to store? In the ODS, your transaction is going to store. Indirectly, in the OLTP system, your transaction is going to store. Now, who is storing the transaction indirectly here? Our savings department employee is performing the transaction. With that, that data is storing in your ODS system. With that understanding, just I'm giving the statement. End users of OLTP is nothing but employees, or we can able to say as a customer. You are also kind of an end user, but you tell me here how we can able to say customers are the end users of the OLTP. In the previous
Indirectly.
example, if you remember, you went to the ATM machine. In the ATM machine, who is performing the transaction? As a customer, you are performing the transactions by using ATM machine. Once we are going to perform the transaction, then what will happen? In the back end, your transaction is going to store indirectly in the back end where your transaction is storing in the ODS. ODS is nothing but OLTP. That's the reason by understanding like that, we are saying that employees and customers are going to act as a end users of your OLTP. But coming to OLAP, business people, managers, and CEOs, they are going to perform the analysis on top of your data. By considering that, we are saying that these are the end users of your OLAP system. Is it clear or still any confusion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, in OLTP, not only the bank transactional data we can call as transaction. I mean, other than that, we can call other, any.
For example, you are doing some operations from the internet banking, or you are doing some operations from the mobile banking. All these are the transactions only. But tell me here, who is going to use the internet banking or mobile banking? As a customer, you are using. That's the reason I'm saying that employees are customer. Okay, so for example, if you are going to the bank, employees will come into the picture. But if you are doing the operations by using the internet banking or by using the mobile banking, and indirectly, who is handling the transactions here? We can able to say, as a customer, you are handling the transactions by using the internet banking or by using the mobile banking. But once we are going to perform the transactions by using the internet banking and mobile banking, indirectly, where the data is storing in the backend, that data is storing on top of your ODS or on top of your OLTP system, your data is going to store. That's the reason we are saying that employees or customers are nothing but end users of our OLTP system. Is it clear?
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions up here? Okay, can you give me the summary? What are the topics we discussed today? We discussed about what is data. We discussed about what is information. We discussed about what is data warehouse. We discussed about what is ODS. We discussed about what is OLTP, and we discussed about what is OLAP, and we discussed about what is our data warehousing architecture, and we discussed about as a data engineer in which components we are doing our activities, and we discussed about what all are differences between OLTP and OLAP. So these are the different topics we covered as part of our today's session. In the same way, in the tomorrow session, we are going to cover few more topics which is nothing but. So far, we discussed about the data warehousing architecture, but we need to understand what all are different types of data warehousing architectures we are having. This is one thing we need to understand, and we need to understand two topics related to the data modeling, like what is the dimensional modeling, and we need to understand what is the star schema, and we need to understand what is the snowflake schema. These are the few more topics which we need to understand as part of our data warehousing concepts. And in that tomorrow session, we'll discuss about what are the different types of data warehousing architectures we are going to see in the real-time projects. Then we are going to discuss about what are the data modeling activities we can able to see in our real-time projects. Other than that, we need to understand what all are different types of dimensional tables we are having, and what all are different types of fact tables we are having. Don't worry, by seeing all these things, and we'll discuss about all these things in very detailed way by taking some kind of examples. With that, you can able to get the clear picture on top of our data warehousing concepts. Okay. Again, I'm repeating the same statements. I know for 19th batch, at present, we are discussing about airflow. Coming to 20th batch, at present, we are discussing about compute engine. We are not deviating from our topic only. So we'll discuss about the airflow and we'll discuss about the compute engine for the 20th batch. But today just we are conducting the classes together for both 19th batch and 20th batch. For that reason, instead of discussing about these concepts, what we are doing here now, today, we are discussing about our data warehousing concepts. Okay, don't think that for 20th batch, compute engine not yet completed. Coming to 19th batch, airflow not yet completed. Definitely, we are going to cover those topics only. But today, I taken the class for both the batches at a time. That's the reason we started discussing about our data warehousing concepts. Okay. Any questions still if you are having, please ask me. Okay. If no questions, Andy, batch 20 people, you can leave for the day. So at 11:45, we don't have any class, Andy. So because I'm having some meetings in the office, so at 11:45 we don't have any class. You can leave for the day. Online people and offline people, both the people can able to leave for the day. Batch 9 people, please stay here for 5 minutes. I want to discuss few things with you. Batch 19 people, please wait for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So coming to batch 19 people only. Okay. So what I want to inform you here is, so from the airflow side, if you want, you can leave no issues. So from the airflow side, we already discussed about one DAG. If you remember, in this DAG, what operations we have done? Whatever the DAG already which we discussed, in that DAG, what operations we performed? We triggered our workflow which we created in Dataproc cluster. In the Dataproc cluster, whatever the workflow which we created, we triggered that workflow by using the DAG, and we did this activity with the help of the airflow. And in the previous session, we discussed about the code of our DAG ending. Just 1 second, I'm open that. So this is the DAG code we discussed. And if you remember how we discussed about this entire DAG code, we discussed about this entire DAG code is going to contain the 3 different sections. In the first section, what we are going to do? We are going to import all the required libraries. And in the second section, what we are doing? We are defining all the objects. At the same time, we are going to create the DAG object. What is the third section? What is the third section?
Task.
In the third section, we are creating all our tasks. And in the previous example, we created only one task. With that task, we instantiated the workflow which we created in the Dataproc cluster. But if you remember, in the Dataproc cluster, within the workflow, how many jobs we are having? In the Dataproc cluster,
7 jobs.
7 jobs.
The Dataproc cluster, and the workflow, we are having total 7 jobs. But in that DAG, whatever the example we discussed, in this DAG, how many tasks we are having? Only one task. So don't get the confusion, Andy. In that DAG, we are having the one task, but that one task is dealing with the workflow which we are having in the Dataproc cluster. That workflow is dealing with the 7 jobs in the Dataproc cluster. This is the way we discussed about one example as part of our previous class, Andy. Now, just I will take 5 to 10 minutes of time. I will give the second example, or I will give the second DAG. Now, in this example, what we are going to do here is, instead of creating jobs and workflows in Dataproc cluster, my requirement is I want to create all the jobs in DAG itself. So what I'm telling here, in this example, I don't want to create the jobs in the Dataproc cluster, or I don't want to create the workflows in the Dataproc cluster. What is my requirement here? I want to create all the jobs in the DAG itself only. Now, as part of this statement, you tell me in that DAG, how many number of jobs we need to maintain, or how many tasks we need to create?
7.
To create 7 tasks.
Yeah, perfect answer. So indirectly here, we need to create 7 tasks. Okay. Now here my requirement is, by using these 7 tasks, I want to submit Spark SQL jobs. If you remember, earlier also in the Dataproc cluster, we created the SQL script. By using that, we created the jobs. By using that, we loaded the data into our target tables. But instead of using the Dataproc jobs here, my requirement is I want to perform the same operations by using the DAG. But if you want to use the DAG, how many number of jobs we need, how many tasks we need to create? We need to create the 7 tasks. So we can able to say here, task 1 to drop databases. Task 2, for what reason? To load data into customer underscore LO table. Task 3, to load data into customer underscore NY table. And task 4, to load data into salesman underscore LO table. Task 5, to load data into salesman underscore NY table. Task 6, to load data into orders table. and task 7 to load data into
Summary.
result summary table. So like this, I need to create the total 7 number of tasks as part of our DAG and D. We did the same activity in the data pro cluster by creating the jobs. Okay. Now I want to replicate the same thing with the help of the DAG. So with that, what will happen? You can able to get the hands-on experience on top of the DAG and D. For that reason, just I'm taking the one more example, which we already discussed in the data pro cluster. Instead of using the data pro cluster job, I want to create the DAG. In that DAG, I want to maintain these many number of tasks. With that, I want to achieve my requirement. Now you try to give the answer to achieve this requirement. In that DAG, what activities we need to perform? First one, obviously we need to import required libraries. Will you agree or not? We have to import required libraries.
Yes.
Next one, we need to define variables. This is in the second section, define variable and DAG object. Third one, simply we need to create the task. We need to create 7 tasks. Okay. So indirectly in that DAG one, whatever the operations we performed on the same activities, we are going to repeat in the DAG 2 also. In the DAG 2 again, we are going to import the required libraries and we are going to define the variables and DAG objects, and we need to create the total 7 number of tasks only. By using all these 3 operations, I want to create the DAG 2 and I want to run this DAG 2 by using the Airflow. Now to perform this operation, we need to create the DAG like this. Just observe. Here also we are not doing any new activity, any very simple thing. First step, we need to import the required libraries. Now you tell me, as part of this example, you want to create the task. By using the task, what you want to do here, you want to submit the Spark SQL job in the data prog. Here we need to understand. We need to submit Spark SQL job in data prog cluster. For this, we need to check which library we need to use. Okay, so to perform this operation only, to submit the Spark SQL job in the data pro cluster, here we are having the one of the library called as a airflow providers.google.cloud.operators.dataprog. This is the library we are having, or this is the module we are having. In this module, we are having the operator called as nothing but dataprog submit Spark SQL job operator. By using this operator, you can able to achieve our task only. In the previous class, I already told you. Do we need to remember all these names? It's not required. Just you can go to the Google. In the Google, you can able to search for the information. For example, here I am going to the Google. Here I am searching for Airflow Dataprog providers. Search with the name Airflow Dataprog providers. With that, see, this is the module we are having only. Airflow providers Google Cloud Operators.dataprog. Same operator we have used here. See, this is the same thing. Now, this is the module. In this module, actually, if you observe here, we are having the so many operators. We are having the so many operators. We are having the operator for submit the Hive job, submit the Pig job, submit the Spark job, submit the Spark SQL job. But as per our requirement, which job you want to trigger? I want to trigger the Spark SQL job. For that reason, we are going to import the operator called as a dataprog submit Spark SQL job operator. That is the operator we imported here. You see, dataprog submit Spark SQL job operator. For that reason, I'm saying that no need to remember all these things only, but as part of Google, they are giving all this kind of information based on the requirement. We need to Google, we need to get the required provider. Within the provider, we need to get the required operator. With that, we can able to perform all our operations where we are doing all these activities in the section 1. Okay. Next in the section 2, what we have to do here, again we need to create the objects only. In the DAG 1, whatever we have done, same thing we are doing here also. We need to define the project ID, region, bucket name and cluster name. Why bucket name and cluster name came here is actually as part of running the task only, I need to provide the script path. But where we are having our script, we are having scripts in the bucket. That's the reason we need to give the bucket path. Now tell me, all these scripts we are having in the same bucket, or we are maintaining the scripts in the different buckets? We are having all the scripts in the same bucket. For that reason, instead of giving the bucket name multiple times only, I given it as a variable. But for this variable, where I given the value, I given the value here, which is nothing but here I given the bucket name. Whatever the name we are giving here, it will replace this value automatically here here everywhere and as part of running your DAG, it will replace the above value with the below value. For that reason, here just we are going to define the variable. Sir, I don't want to use the variable. Then what we can do? Just remove the variable, give the hardcode value if you want like this. This is the way also we can able to perform. But in the real time, if we are using the same value multiple times and instead of giving the hardcode value, we are going to define the variable. With that, we can able to write our code as part of our real time. Again, I'm telling section 1, we are importing required libraries. Section 2, we are defining all the variables and we are going to create the DAG object. In the DAG 1, whatever we have done, same thing we are doing in the DAG 2 also. But in the DAG 2, we are doing the one more extra activity, which is nothing but I am creating total 7 number of tasks. See, total how many tasks I am creating here? Total 7 tasks. And try to understand one task. If you understand one task, same activity we are repeating for the other task also. Here in the first task, I am using the operator for submit Spark SQL job operator. For this one, we need to provide the task ID. What is the task ID? This we discussed in the previous class already. What is the task ID? It's nothing but your task name. And in the Airflow console, you can able to see the DAG name. If you click on the DAG name, within that DAG, what we can able to see? We can able to see your task name. But how it is populating? With the help of the task ID, it is populating indirectly for this operator. This is the one of the argument we need to pass on the task ID. You can give it as a task name. After that, in this operator, I want to trigger the Spark SQL. For that reason, you need to provide the path of the SQL. So we are given the argument called as a query underscore URI. Here we are given the this one. Here I'm given the drop.sql, where we are having this drop.sql in your bucket, in your folder, you can able to see the drop.sql in your system, whatever the path you are having, and please give the path. So here in this example, I am given the my path like this, but in your system might be your path is different. Just to change the path, accordingly, you can able to provide the SQL path to trigger this task. In the same way, in the second task, what activity I want to perform? I want to run this SQL. Same thing, define the task ID, give the SQL path. Third one, I want to trigger one more SQL. Again, give the task ID and provide the path of the SQL. Like that, for each and every task, we are going to perform the same activity only. Now you tell me, is it the simple one or complex one? Once you can able to understand one task, in the same way, you can able to create the all remaining tasks only. As we discussed in the notepad, how many tasks we need to maintain total? 7 tasks. In every task, what you are doing? You are submitting the Spark SQL query. That's the reason here we are creating the same kind of task only. Only thing is nothing but here just you need to change the path of the SQL. With that, you can able to create total 7 number of the tasks. Okay. After that, what we have to do? We need to provide dependency between all the tasks only. Now tell me, what is the dependency between all these tasks here? I can able to say here, after completion of task 1, I want to trigger task 2. Trigger 3, 4, 5, and 6. Will you agree this or not? What is the task 1 here? After completion of the drop operation, I want to load the data into customer elbow, customer envoy, salesman elbow, salesman envoy, and orders. All these are independent to each other. For that reason, after dropping the database, immediately what I want to do here, I want to trigger the task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5, and task 6 only. But in the Airflow side, how we can do this dependency? Task 1 greater than task 2. This is for first one. Second one again, task 1 greater than task 3. So like this, you can able to provide all the dependencies between the all the 5 tasks only. But tell me here, when you want to trigger the task 7, when you want to trigger the task 7, after completion of task 2,
By completing all.
task 3, task 4, task 5, task 6. After completion of all these tasks only, I want to trigger the task 7. But if you want to define the multiple job dependencies only, then what we are going to do here is, if you observe, This is for first 5 jobs. But coming to last job, we are having the dependency on the multiple jobs. And when we are having the dependency on the multiple jobs, we are giving all these jobs within the square brackets. With that, it is trying to understand after completion of all these jobs only, I want to trigger the result summary. This is the way simply we can able to define the job dependencies. Now, if you observe here, out of this whole DAG, what is the new topic we are discussing? We are discussing about one new operator, which is nothing but Spark SQL job operator. That is one new topic. Other than that, we are discussing about how to define the multiple tasks by depending on the requirement. That is the second new topic we are discussing. Third one, we are discussing about how to run the SQLs with the help of the Spark SQL operator. That is the third point we are discussing newly. Andy, what is the fourth point? How to define dependencies between the multiple jobs only. So like this, with the help of this DAG, we are trying to understand 4 different topics only. One is nothing but what is the Spark SQL operator. Second thing, how we need to define the multiple tasks by depending on the requirement. Third thing, how to submit the Spark SQL jobs by giving the path. Last one, how to define the dependencies between the multiple jobs only. With this DAG, you can able to understand all this information. What I will do here is after completion of the class, I will share this DAG to you. What you need to do from your side? First one,
You need to change
maintain
the cluster.
your Dataproc cluster. We are running all these things in the Dataproc, so you need to restart the cluster. This is the first thing. Second thing, in your bucket, please verify where we have SQL files. This is the second step only. Without checking this, if you are going to run blindly, what will happen? You can able to see the failure message. Third thing, please do required changes in DAG. What's the changes you have to perform? You need to change the project name, you need to change the cluster name, and you need to change the SQL path, and you need to change the bucket name. Please do all the required changes on top of your DAG. Now DAG is ready. What's the next step? Upload DAG into which path? In the GCS path under DAX folder. Okay. From where we can able to get the DAX folder? From the Airflow console or from the Composer console, you can able to get the DAG folder. Into the DAG folder, please upload your DAG. After that, please open Airflow console. There you can able to see your DAG, and please monitor how it is running. So please perform these activities from your side only. I will share the DAG. I explained about the DAG. So now you need to run this DAG. To run this DAG, what you have to do here? Please maintain the Dataproc cluster. In your bucket, please verify all the SQL files. After that, please do the required changes in the DAG. At the same time, upload the DAGs into the GCS path. With that, in the Airflow console, you can able to see the DAG, and you need to monitor whether the DAG is working properly or not. With that, you can able to perform the practice on one more DAG as part of our today's practicals. Okay. Any questions on top of this, please ask me here. On the DAG 2 and on top of this whole exercise, if you have any questions, please ask me.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
what is this? The total Python script the file. What will be called in terms of real-time environment?
Can you repeat the question, Andy?
I mean, what this Python script? What will it be called in real time?
No, you are going to write this whole Python code, and you are not writing the only part of the code here. You are going to write the complete part of the code as part of your real-time projects.
Yes, sir. But what will it be called? I must.
What will be called?
It's called as DAG code.
Okay. Fine.
No. What is the answer someone given? I didn't get that. What is the question? What is the answer? I didn't get that. Can you please repeat?
So, like what he is asking is what here we are saving this DAG code file as a with .py extension, right?
Yes.
So in real time, what we call this file as?
In
Yes, sir.
real time, we'll call it as a DAG.
Only that. Okay.
Yeah, DAG.
Yeah, I mean the
Because
script is
in the Airflow, what we are doing here, compulsory we have to maintain the DAG. It's a Python script only, but in the Airflow, instead of calling it as a Python script, we are calling it as a DAG. In the previous class also, we discussed about this. Instead of calling it as a Python script, in the Airflow, we are calling it as a DAG. What is the meaning of DAG? It's a kind of a Python script, which is going to contain all the required libraries, and it is going to contain all the required tasks. At the same time, we can able to see the dependencies between the tasks also in the DAG. But how we are going to build the DAG? With the help of the Python script, we are going to build the DAG as part of our real-time projects.
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay. Any other questions still? Okay. After completion of this class only, I will share this DAG to you. Once I'm going to share this DAG, please go through all these steps. At the same time, please run this activity on your machines, and with that, you can able to get understanding about one more DAG by using our Spark SQL operator. In the same way, in the next session, I will cover about how to deal with the GCS, how to deal with the BigQuery by using the DAG. This is the one more use case we need to work on it, that I will explain in detail in the next class. But for today, please perform this practical session once I'm going to share DAG with you. Is it fine? Okay.
Hello.
If no questions, Andy. Yeah. So actually what we'll do here is at 11:45 for you also, we don't have any session. But at 2:30 might be I will take the session, Andy. But this is also kind of tentative. If my meetings are over by 2:30 in my company, then I will take the class only, but I will give update to you by 1:30. By 1:30 in the Telegram group, I will send the message only. If my meetings are going to complete at 2:30, I will take the one more session. If my meetings are not going to complete, so today at 2:30 also we are not going to have the class. Is it fine?
Okay.
Yeah, someone is trying to ask the question. Can you please continue now?
Sir, in the real time, so many task is there, like
Yes.
100 of tasks. So can it possible to write one file or maintain the different file and call in the one file?
No. So for example, if you're having the 100 tasks or 200 tasks also, if there is any kind of interdependency, we need to put all the tasks in the same file only. If there is any interdependency, okay. But if you want, for example, what we can do here is we can able to define the DAG dependencies. So far what we are doing within the DAG, we are given the task dependency. If you want, what we can do here is we can create the DAG 1, we can create the DAG 2. In between the DAGs also we can able to give the dependency that we can able to call it as a DAG dependency, and it's a kind of a advanced topic. If time permits, I will try to explain. I will give an example on the DAG dependency also. Okay. But so far whatever we are discussing, that is for the task dependency within the DAG.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? No, your voice is not audible. Can you please repeat once?
Still we are testing the compose in the compose replacement case.
Yeah, as I told you earlier, Andy. So after doing all the changes also, if it is
someone provide the answer in the Telegram.
Yeah, someone is saying that Composer 1 is working, Andy. So please try to create it by using the Composer 1 if Composer 2 is not working. Someone mentioned the Telegram group, so Composer 1 is working. Yeah, as I told you earlier, Andy, both are not working, so you don't have any other option. Please take help from your friends. I already told you in the previous classes. So because this is not an issue from our side, Andy, for some people it's working, for some people it's not working. It's a kind of a bug from the GCP side. It's not the issue from our side. So please take help from your friends. And please do the practice with the help of your friend account. That is the only one option we are having. Okay. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. If no questions, that's all for today, Andy. We'll meet you in the afternoon session or in the tomorrow session.